Hello, beautiful soul family. Rebecca here, your Vibe mentor, bringing you another video on how to raise your vibration so you can live your best life. Let's talk about abandonment today. The feeling of abandonment as a child certainly leaves us all traumatized, but abandonment can happen in everyday life on a moment to moment basis. And it is so common in our society that we may not even realize that we are consistently encouraged not only to abandon ourselves, but to ignore and deny the original abandonment wound. So, in my work, helping people through their healing journeys, healing trauma, overcoming depression, the dark night of the soul, and launching into not only their spiritual awakening, but their life purpose, I see two very common themes. And that is one, the unworthiness wound, sometimes known as complex trauma, sometimes known as CPTSD. It can be just that general feeling of not enoughness, being bad, wrong, or broken, never being able to get things right or do things right, a lack of belief in your value and worth. And a lot of that oftentimes is directly connected to not living your purpose and living a fulfilling life. But the second would be looking for happiness or fulfillment or love or protection or safety outside of ourselves, looking outside of ourselves for any of those things that we need. And I find it interesting that the vast majority of people I work with, anyone who's dealing with depression, anxiety, or disease, they have this connection to both of these challenges. And what ties these two together is the abandonment wound. The unworthiness wound and the abandonment wound, they go hand in hand. And also seeking for validation, fulfillment, peace, joy, love outside of ourselves also comes from abandonment, where we're taught to abandon ourselves and look outside of ourselves for the cause of the problem and also for the solution. So it's very interesting how these two factors actually cause us to abandon ourselves, further perpetuating the abandonment wound. And what happens is when we are not loved, cared for, seen, validated, heard as a child, that is a form of abandonment. And what we adopt, it's kind of like a little floppy disk that's inserted into our limbic brain, into our subconscious brain. We adopt all of these behaviors. The way those people around us treated us is the way we will continue to treat ourselves. So when we were abandoned, we will then continue forward in self-abandonment. And so what causes this is essentially we don't believe that we are worthy. There's self-abandonment in that. We look to others for our validation, for our happiness, and there's self-abandonment in that. And it's such a common issue in society today that it goes completely undetected for many. The society tells us we have to rush around, prove our worth, do, and again, look to all the externals to validate whether or not we're worthy and deserve love and respect. And it's all at the expense of our mental, physical, and emotional well-being. It is a global issue, and it is one that I would love to see come to an end in our lifetime, and that's why I'm here doing this. So we have to ask ourselves, what does it look like when we self-abandon? How do we start to heal this? And starting to heal it is first catching it and seeing it. So notice, do you make choices where you put yourself in unsafe physical or emotional conditions? Do you not care about how you feel or what you need? Do you ignore your own needs and desires? Do you postpone basic needs like hunger, thirst, sleep? Do you postpone real connection needs like love and contribution? Real connection, not social media connection. There is a difference there. Do you ignore your basic needs and desires? Do you ignore discomfort and pain, any of your personal needs? Do you deprive yourself in any way? Do you ignore your intuition or your inner knowing? Do you forego your values, commitments, and boundaries? Do you feel a loss of integrity with yourself or others? Do you break commitments to yourself or others? Do you punish yourselves for those mistakes? Are you suppressing your true nature in any way? Do you forego your interests and goals or feelings? Are you a perfectionist, hypercritical of yourself, no grace or space to be human? Do you not speak up for yourself or acknowledge your likes or dislikes? Do you let people walk all over you? Are you people-pleasing, overgiving, codependent? Perfect example. I've been on this path for many, many years. Gosh, more than 10 years now. And the topic and theme of codependency has come up many, many times, and there's always new facets of healing to this. And a prime example of a way that I almost didn't show up for myself the other day, but I did, and I was very proud, was I was going to Target, returning or exchanging a shirt that didn't fit my daughter, and I put the bag on the counter. I had my receipt, my tags, everything was as it should be. And I said to the lady, I'd like to exchange this for a smaller size. It's too big for my daughter. And she said, you cannot return, or you cannot exchange, you must return. I said, okay, whatever you would like to call it, that's what I would like to do. Receipt or card? Well, I used a card. Put your card in the machine. Like, just very abrupt and rude and difficult, and no warmth, no kindness, no respect in any way. And my old self would have kind of shrunk back and just did what she wanted, silently a little bit angry and frustrated and resentful that she was being rude. And I would have walked away, and I would have felt a sort of a lack of release of anger, which is odd for me to even say, because I have never truly seen myself as an angry person, and yet we'll get to it. But as you go through this, you realize the full range of emotions are key. We need to feel them. That anger, that frustration was pushing me to say, that's not right. She should not be treating you that way. I was kind. I had everything in order. I was doing as I should have been doing. There was no excuse for abrupt and disrespectful behavior. And I very calmly, without aggression, without, sometimes we can suppress our feelings and then we become passive aggressive, where it builds up and then we spill over and right? But it didn't come to that point where I just said to her, I really need to say that your customer service is rusty. And I walked away. And I had a pause in between. I wasn't quite sure how that was going to come out, but I really needed to express that the customer service was not acceptable. And I didn't want to say you're being rude or how dare you, or be aggressive to her, but it was just a very honest and kind and justified response to let you know you are not behaving properly. And that is what it means to not self-abandon. To self-abandon would have been to walk away and not say something and just absorb her toxicity. And instead I was able to show up for myself. And that was a huge thing in my life. So kind of look at those situations. If we don't start to catch the self-abandonment, we will experience repercussions. There is always a give and a take, a balancing, and it must happen whether we like it or not. So if we are not willing to stand up for ourselves or show up for ourselves, then we're going to have to bear the brunt of that choice and decision. And essentially it's self-destruction. It is dis-ease. It is anxiety. It is depression, low self-esteem, self-sacrificing, exhaustion, depletion, feeling that things are futile and hopeless, unfulfilling relationships, toxic relationships, and again, seeking outside of ourselves for the very things that we need to be giving ourselves. And it is futile. That's why it feels that way. So why do we do it? Trauma. Trauma is usually the word that nobody really wants to accept. They want to say, I didn't experience trauma. That's fine. The term trauma, as it relates to, say, a car accident or one major extreme event, is very different than something called complex trauma, which the vast majority of the population has experienced. And that is a prolonged period of time where you felt unsafe, whether that was during your childhood or during a toxic relationship later in life. It can also even just be caused by social conditioning, this belief of not enoughness. So complex trauma and the unworthiness wound, or the not enoughness, they go hand in hand. They're essentially the same thing. And it again is socially conditioned into us that if we're not what this picture says is the image of perfect, worthy, and valuable, then you must feel bad about yourself. And so even just from the social conditioning perspective, you may have experienced complex trauma or have the unworthiness wound. And essentially what that creates is a lack of trust in ourselves. We don't believe that we are valuable, gifted, or have strengths. We don't believe we deserve it. In some cases, there's very subconscious programming that says you don't even deserve to breathe, to exist, to ask for things, to be alive, to be seen, to be heard. It is a very pervasive issue that is very subtle, and it holds beautiful people back. Beautiful light workers who are intended to create the new earth are not able to step into their purpose because they're dealing with this unworthiness wound. Makes us feel like we're not good enough, that we're bad, wrong, or broken. It comes through toxicity or abuse, either in home environments, external environments, or relationships later in life. Even poverty, loss, the loss of the one person in your life who actually did show up for you can cause this. It can even come through a seemingly unresolvable situation where you feel trapped in your own life. It's a survival mechanism. Oftentimes, if you experienced an unpredictable, chaotic, or abusive family in childhood, you will definitely struggle with this challenge. The one most important thing to remember is this is a learned behavior. Self-abandonment is a learned behavior. The trauma responses, the coping mechanisms, they're all learned behavior, which means we can unlearn them or learn new replacement behaviors. You learn to hide your true self. You became a chameleon, morphing into whatever role was going to keep the peace or keep you safe. You suppressed your feelings and needs, and your worth depended on whether or not you accomplished something, which of course was never quite good enough. That your needs and interests and goals didn't matter, and that you didn't deserve love and companionship. So if any of this is resonating with you, then here's how we heal it. Right? Learn to love yourself. And that is such a complicated thing to say because it seems confusing. It's like, what does that mean if you've never loved yourself? How can you cognitively understand a feeling and emotion that you've never experienced before? And here's how. You learn to recognize your value and worth. You know that you are worthy simply because you breathe. The Creator breathed the breath of life into you. Every breath that you take means that you are a divine being, a child of the Creator, the Source. There is no greater, more worthy thing on planet Earth. Know that you were made perfectly imperfect for a very specific purpose. Look around you and look at all these people and look how different we are. How we have certain specific skills and gifts and passions and interests. To suggest that we should all fit into this cookie cutter mold of worthy and good enough is ridiculous. It's absolutely absurd. And if we start to take a step back and think critically, we can see that of course I'm worthy and valuable because I'm so unique, because I'm different. This is what allows us to start to look at what are you really good at? What's the 1, 2, or 3 things that you did naturally very early on in life that just came effortlessly to you that nobody else sees quite as easy to do as you do? Recognize you are valuable. And when you can start to step into that value and worth, which is exactly what VIBE stands for, is value and intention-based education. You are valuable. What is your intention to use it? Right? I digress. Going back to how do you love yourself? Care about what you need. Show up for yourself. Be there. Be the one person that you can count on. Express yourself freely. Be silly. Allow yourself to feel all the feelings, the full gamut. No one is good or bad or right or wrong. They're all necessary. They all serve a purpose. They only become a problem if you stay in them. Energy is meant to move. We're not meant to be stagnant. Yes, feel anger for a moment so that you go back to the lady and say your customer service is rusty. And then walk away and giggle and go, that was awesome. Good job. right? Refrain from judgment. Don't label or assign meaning to anything. Everything is just as it is, and it's perfect the way it is. Start telling yourself, and that's okay, to everything you encounter. The lady was rude, and that's okay. That was a really awesome exercise for me to show up for myself, and that's okay too. Or maybe I didn't show up for myself, and that's okay because I realize it, and I'll see it next time. Be silly, be quirky, be fun, enjoy life, play. Allow yourself to just break out of this confine of guardedness and protection mode and safety and security and hiding, and every piece of that just squishes you down further. Be compassionate and loving towards yourself. Notice when you're struggling. Meet your needs in every moment. Anytime you start to feel yuck of some kind, one, question the thoughts that started to create it because they're likely untrue. And two, meet the need. Ask yourself, what do I need right now? Ask your body, what do you need right now? How can I be here for you right now? Ask questions. Remain as king when you are asking questions. Use your body as a gauge because it will let you know if you're getting off track. If things start to feel yuck, if you feel tensed and tight and hunched over, then you're closing down. Freedom, expansion, rightness, correct thought will feel expansive in your body. Use your body as a gauge. Notice when you're tired, get sleep. When you're feeling down or sad, check the stories you're telling yourself. Speak kindly to yourself and be your own cheerleader. Really cheer yourself on every moment of every day. Notice all the good things that you've done. Don't compare yourself to others. Compare yourself to you yesterday, and then cheerlead the progress that you've made. You want 1% growth every day. 1% growth every day will lead to lasting change. 100% today and nothing tomorrow, and complete crash and judgment because you failed, self-abandonment, and of course you will not make any progress because you just deflated yourself, right? Notice that all of this comes from a place of standing up for yourself, for showing up for yourself. When somebody isn't treating you right, say something. Don't let the fear of rocking the boat keep you from being there for yourself. Heal your trauma, and trauma healing works through brain spotting. You can reprogram your subconscious very, very quickly through brain spotting. Trust me, it is the one modality that has made the biggest difference in my life. So much so, I became a facilitator. It is phenomenal. It absolutely works. Work with your internal family system. So what that means is you have a network of systems in your body. Your heart has intelligence, your gut has intelligence, your reproductive organs have intelligence, your arms, all of these different parts. It's a family system. Get out of the brain and lean on the system that is not meant to do all the work. You have a whole bunch of resources that are untapped. They want a seat at the table, they want to be heard. So make sure you lean on your family system. They will help you understand how to love yourself, how to nourish yourself, how to show up for yourself. All you have to do is look to the area that is calling your attention most. So when you're struggling and you're not sure, how do I love myself right now? Look for the area of your body that has the most intensity and listen to it. With your conscious awareness, be present with it. Don't analyze it and think about it, but just listen, right? Connect with all the different versions of you. The younger you, the 2-year-old you, the 5-year-old you, the 10, the 14, the 27, the 35, all of those different key parts in your life. They are different parts of you that still exist, and they likely are fragmented and disconnected because they don't feel heard, they don't feel safe, they don't feel like you're going to show up for them. Show up for them. Have conversations with them. Bring them all back together. Love on them. Nurture them. Heal them by hearing them. Feel them. Feel it to heal it. Right? Listen to all the parts of yourself. Get in touch with your body and recall all the parts that you abandoned. Go back and look in your childhood or wherever those toxic, stressful, unsafe environments or situations happen, and look at what part of me did I abandon in that time. What part of me did I give away and reject and deem a liability, and call that back, because there is not a single part of you that is broken or wrong or an accident. Every single ounce of you is needed for your life purpose, even the parts you thought were a liability. Call them back to become whole again. Rediscover and recreate who you are and who you want to be. All of this self-abandonment and trauma, the not showing up for yourself, it caused you to lose parts of you. You forgot who you really were. You put on this mask by being the chameleon for everybody else. You forgot who you truly were and what you truly needed. So now's the fun part. You get to rediscover and recreate. It's kind of like a moment in the void when you remove all of this excess bullshit that doesn't mean anything about who you actually were or your value or worth. Then you get to find who you truly were and create who you want to be. It's a beautiful place to be. The most important relationship you have in your life is a relationship with yourself and with the divine. It's between you and he, she, it, they, them. That's it. And I shouldn't even say out there because it's in here. It's all in you. The answers are in you. Everything you need, every answer you need is in you. Just ask the question. Remain as king when you are asking a question. We can no longer blame others for our unhappiness or for our unfulfilled needs. We have to stop abandoning ourselves if we want to stop being abandoned by others. You are the one. You are the only one. The only one who is responsible for you and the only one who can make you happy. The only one who can meet your needs. The only one who can show up and be committed and be loyal and never leave yourself again. It's you. And the beauty is when we do this for ourselves, we lead by example. Imagine if everyone just swept in front of their own door. You're no longer responsible for everybody else. You're no longer responsible for how everybody else feels. You only have to worry about you. You take care of you, I'll take care of me. Together, happy we will be. All right, if you need any help with this, I offer coaching and courses around healing trauma, overcoming the abandonment wound, overcoming any type of neural pathways that have persisted, and I can teach you how to rediscover who you are, find your life purpose, learn how to manifest with intention, and build a business so that you can make a living in your life purpose and be the light you were meant to be. Notice if any fear comes up around that. Because really, at the end of the day, the fear is not necessarily around the shadow, but how brightly you will shine and how much that might scare people when you do. And it's okay, because I can show you how to stand in that power and not feel the intensity of everyone else's discomfort. How to process and release. Like, subscribe, and share to support the channel so that I can continue to make more videos like this. Connect below with the links if you'd like to learn more. Take care. Namaste, my friends.